Lali-Ho and good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's Swiss round match between beernerd and moonblazewolf. I am Huffin, helped out on the tracking by Imperial Dragon and on the restream by Neobari. And here in the booth with me is Vitasia. Vitasia, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, you'll forgive me. I am cackling over here, moonblazewolf, with the jokes already on his name qualifiers, but doing fantastic. Ready for a fantastic night of free enterprise here.
Yeah, we were warned that moonblazewolf was having a good lark with the names, so I made sure. Like, I saw the stream was up, I saw we were live, and I didn't bother looking because I needed to deliver that opening straight.
Thank you for your sacrifice. I appreciate it.
But yes, we do have moonblazewolf sitting at 1-1, beernerd sitting at 0-2. That's a little deceptive of their performance so far in the Lali-Ho League. Both of them have had pretty close races on pretty jetty seeds. So if we end up with one of those, it's going to be hard to tell who will come out ahead on this. And if we have a longer one, who knows, really.
Oh, absolutely. Both of these runners did quite well in the Highway to the Three Miss Zone League just a few months ago. So they are much better than their records indicate. The unfortunate part is for beernerd. I mean, this is elimination match moving forward. Have to win or at least tie every match. You can only have one tie even in order to move on. moonblazewolf with a little bit more wiggle room, but I think in some ways this speaks to just how amazing the entire free enterprise community has become over the past year and a half or so. Everyone has just taken a gigantic leap forward in their abilities to where two fantastic runners such as these are in the positions that they're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen some incredible evolution in just strategy and skill overall. Looking at the objective set that we have this evening, I don't know that we're going to see those necessarily come to play, as we have two boss hunts showing up as our random objectives for the seed, finding Plague and finding Bahamut. Both of those are bosses that we've kind of solidified the strategies on for a while.
No, this is absolutely true. But the interesting part is going to be the routing of this. Depending on how many objectives are boss hunts versus character hunts, we've seen a lot of different routing strategies throughout this particular tournament. We do see opening with two old men and a hook. So I imagine we're going to be doing at least a little bit of exploration, hoping that hook isn't our only way into the underground.
Yeah, but it is our only way to get to the character that is down in the Evelyn Cave. So I would expect an early grab of that hovercraft and a early check on who that character is. That is a gated location, so Fusoya, Edge, they could be chilling down there.
No, absolutely. Not to mention that Eblin item shop that's located there can hold all sorts of goodies for our runners. Hourglasses, sirens, coffins, all the sorts of next level J items that can really make things very smooth for that mid to late game as well.
Yep, so naturally we are seeing both of the runners heading up immediately to grab that hovercraft. moonblazewolf taking a dip into the waterfall, since again we are doing two boss hunts, and there's one of them out of the gate, Bahamut in the watery pass.
That's significant. A lot of times you'll see runners choose not to check these one-off locations in a boss hunt heavy race. Like, we have two required boss hunts plus the third boss hunt that's always there in Demas. Checking these one-off locations, like in the watery pass and in the Mist Cave, becomes increasingly important for every boss hunt check you have. beernerd looks like he's going to also go ahead and do this. So in any sort of randomizer, it's not just what your opponent does, it's what your opponent doesn't do. So while both of these runners are absolutely checking this, neither of them are going to gain an advantage because it's an early first check.
Yeah, and I'm sure both of them are going to feel a bit relieved and maybe even a bit ahead, if you can ever feel that way during these tournaments, just by grabbing this so quickly.
It's true. You never know. And that's I think one of the fantastic things about randomizer races in general. So we already have one down. Looks like Hey, poison axe, strength rings, in addition to what we already have. Some decent loot in the basement here for Sid to equip in order to carry us here through the early part of the seed. Meanwhile, beernerd is not looting and going right over here and is going to be checking out Eblin Cave much quicker.
Yep, we do have T Wildish, so that the loot is going to be kind of, anything goes, but weighted more towards these out of the way locations, like what beernerd is checking right now. So looting in this area is actually, on the whole, a little bit better. The main drawback being there are trap chests here. This party will not handle the trap chests, so you're hoping to just not run into one of those, or do so at a time where the reset is not a concern.
Or in such a manner that, for example, we have hourglasses available in the item shop. So we see beernerd go ahead and picking up at least one. Really, the hourglass will be able to help you get through that trap chest so you can fully clean out. Honestly, if you have early hook access, getting the character and then going and doing this trap chest, one, isn't bad early experience if you can get it, and two, can help get those lower level characters into the higher levels in order to clear the early overworld checks even a little bit faster. Meanwhile, moonblazewolf is going over here showing us our first white mage, Porum, as well as the blue robe, and it's a jinxed blue robe.
Nope, that is the alt gauntlet. So that is a whole lot of skeletons and other undead beasts that moonblazewolf has no interest in fighting. And beernerd finds an Edward in the Eblin Cave and probably has no interest in taking him. But you got it.
So just to recap, the 4 characters that we've seen so far this seed have been Edward, Porum, Tella, and Sid. 4 of, to be perfectly frank, 4 of the weaker characters, start to finish, in this particular flag setup right now. So, well done to our restreamer Neobari, who rolled this seed and says, hey, your early game is going to be dominated by mediocrity.
Look, they are all wonderful niche characters with very strong applications in a party of 4 other good characters. So they do have that going for them, I suppose.
And now we do see beernerd doing, what we expected him to be doing, going through and looting, hoping to get some extra experience, at least on the final character. Oh no, resetting out, said nope.
I mean, even if you do get the hourglass up, you still have that first queued up set of swings from the giants, the ogres rather, and that can hurt a lot.
Yeah, the Stalemen are quite punchy, so you have to be a little bit careful. You are getting some decent loot. I've seen a Gungnir, I've seen, there's some Artemis arrows right there. It's
a white spear.
Why are all of Kane's best weapons just so readily available?
Well, and the best of the best is not going to be available, as that's tier 7 stuff, and that's only going to be found if you do a boss fight or a trap chest. But you'll take tier 6. Tier 6 is still pretty good.
It is. Tier 6 is still pretty good. Meanwhile, it does look like beernerd is done looting. Moonblazewolf now picks up his Edward, appropriately named Help, by the way. That just really, with the naming scheme, is going really well here with Moonblazewolf. I just want to say. Meanwhile, beernerd, it's like, okay, let's pick up where we left off. We're gonna go up and be immediately disappointed by Porum up on Mount Hobbs, which is a thing that happens.
Yeah, I mean, Porum's not a huge disappointment here. You do want some dedicated white mage for most party compositions. It's the alt gauntlet. It's a lot of fights.
It's a lot of fights, and more importantly, no easy way to clear things out. If we had, for example, an early Star Rod or even an early Earth Hammer for Sid here, I might be tempted to take it because of how good a white mage can be to your party. You just need something to kind of sweep through all of these large encounters at this point. Beernerd is going to take the fights, unlike Moonblazewolf, who noped out of that. So,
Oh nope, that's noping out as well. Beer nerd realizing, no, that's not worth the effort.
All right. I mean, I get it. I get it. So here, Beernerd goes into Antline Cave. It'll be our first trip into Antline. And this is something you don't always necessarily see, but I appreciate because he did a lot of early looting in Cave Eblin. He's not opening even the chests he walks by at this point in Antline Cave. We'll see runners at different points, loot out Antline Cave differently. But when you have access to a superior treasure a little bit early, you're not as incentivized as heavily to go after the lighter loot here.
Yep, we're gonna see Moonblazewolf heading to the same place. It was mentioned in chat. These two runners have been hitting the same spots, lined straight up. So we haven't seen Baron in. We don't know what fight is there. We don't know what character is there. That's basically the only other character location that we have currently accessible, and we have no idea if it's going to be worth investing in or not.
When we talk about the early overworld, I suspect the four primary checks: Antlion, FF4FE, Mount Ordeals, and then eventually into the Baron Inn. I imagine we'll do that loop unless we find something that really helps us.
A magma key really helps us, I dare say. Yeah, that's help. That's very Edward.
That's my goodness. Okay. I mean, sure, why not give us double access to the underground in our first two key items? There's no way this could blow up in our face, right?
I mean, the magma key does blow up a mountain, so that implies some level of pyrotechnics.
Is it pyrotechnics, or is it more of an implosion where it I don't know if the mountains explode outward to create the hole, or does it collapse inward? I don't know if the lore is clear on that.
I tend to agree. I don't think it's ever been specified. I think we need to contact the Square. We need to contact the developers to get to the bottom of this.
Yep. Scala, if you're out there watching, can we delegate that to you? Just contact Square, get us a final answer at some point, please. Thank you. But yeah, it does look like both runners got that got that magma key, and we are on our way to the underground. We're not doing any other checks in the overworld for both of our runners. This is interesting. I can understand it though. There's the mythical, single dip Fabul. If you can avoid doing the Fabul defend location prior to getting the pan, you kind of do them all at once.
Yeah, and as Beernerd is showing us, there's even better shops down here. There's even better loot. So if you're trying to kit your team out, this is a good place to do it. There's also the FE March freebie. You check your freebies, folks.
Yeah, and Beernerd is taking that wisdom to heart, checking the freebies immediately. Similar to Cave Eblin, though, there's a lot of good treasure that's available here in the FE March at the same time. It's a very densely packed area with some pretty high quality loot, so wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more looting going on. Just an Artemis bow for our freebie here. But again, checking a bunch of item shops. Moonblazewolf is going to be the first one to show us in Dwarf Castle. I don't think we've seen sirens yet in all of the items that are available. Blaze is going for it.
Oh, wow. It's a sparkle. A plague fight here. If you can keep the pacing of it, you're not concerned about the HP. Moonblazewolf is apparently concerned about the HP. Or otherwise, did not equip the curse string that he obtained. I think might have been a factor. But taking that information and gonna mosey on out.
No, we haven't seen sirens available in any shop yet, I don't believe.
And over on beernerd's side, I saw the dolls. Was that a sparkle next to them as well?
That was so fast. I'll be 100% honest. He's setting up, though, as though something impressive is going to be happening. So beernerd rearranging his party. Let's see what this entails.
Yeah, it's another sparkle.
Sparkle and dolls. So probably just checking the sparkle. Hello.
It's a blarg. So we at least know that the plague is not going to be in that spot. We've ruled out wyvern from any other sparkles that we've seen. Makes it ever slightly more likely that what moonblazewolf is our fourth objective.
Every sparkle we check is going to add value a little bit. That's always interesting because some checks we can make and just kind of take a peek and say, oh, that boss, like in the waterfall. As soon as we saw the character sprite, we knew what was going on. The sparkles, we have to commit a little bit more time, which can slow things down at least a little bit as we're going through here. So beernerd is now checking. He's going to do the Fabool double check, which perfectly fine at this point in time. We've cleared out what we can clear out. Looks like moonblazewolf is taking a more thorough approach in terms of checking treasure chests and rewarded with at least a power shirt to start off with.
Yep, and a pretty solid sword for Edge should he show up. And there's the one trap chest in this pathway, so moonblazewolf can now go through and sweep through with impunity. He knows where the danger is and can just dodge it entirely.
Yeah, and so far, both runners have been doing a good job of not over looting, I think. It's really in a black belt shirt. Wow. It's really easy in Final Fantasy IV to over loot, because especially with these flags, because hey, the next treasure chest could have something really cool if you just open a little bit. But you really have to control that impulse.
I mean, this pass is kind of demonstrating that with how many strong armor pieces have shown up. There was a heroine robe there as well.
Yeah, it's important to maximize your opportunities. Don't loot any more than you necessarily have to, but recognize when you're under-geared and need to loot a little bit more, especially in those high-value spots. Eblin Cave, Feymarsh, I personally really, because of the high density of higher tier items that are available out there.
So as moonblazewolf is doing all of that, beernerd is over defending Fabool against the dark imps that go down relatively easy thanks to those coffins purchased earlier.
Look at this, moonblazewolf has both an Artemis bow and Artemis arrows and a power shirt on his Sid already. Just maximum power.
And beernerd finds another kind of power, that is the twin harp from defending Fabool. That is our first objective, now unlocked.
Well, objective number one, we've already got the...
You know what I mean.
I guess I do know what you mean. But I'm being pedantic, because being technically correct is the best kind of correct.
I mean, technically speaking, yes. And that is the adamant rock from Sheila 1 as well. So beernerd making strong headway on those objectives.
Fabool with all the goodies, both the twin harp and the adamant rock. You know, as soon as I see that pan, I know it's meta a little bit, but I might be tempted to just avoid everything to turn that pan in, because clearly Fabool is the key to conquering the world right now.
I mean, even if we didn't just have two strong pulls, getting the pan does open up 2 item location checks, so the numbers are good.
I look at moonblazewolf continuing to be aggressive in terms of opening treasure chests and rewarded with both a rune axe and another power shirt. We're getting some really nice loot, all things said. Don't want to open too many treasure chests, though, here in the Feymarsh, because there's something to the tune of 6 trap chests here.
7, I believe, actually.
Yeah, 7. It's a very high number, and it's always risky. I always just kind of clench up a little bit whenever I see anyone opening up Feymarsh chests.
Sylph Cave, rather.
Right.
If you're doing Cave Trap, though, Sylph Cave is so much value because there are so many trap chests there. Same with the lower tower. All those alarms, if they can give you key items, they are very worth looking at. Not the case
True.
for this flag set, of course, but something to keep in mind if you do play a variety of free enterprise flags.
That is worth noting. This tournament with the Lali-Ho League does have very specific flag sets that we're following, but there's all sorts of different types of flags and customization that you can do with the free enterprise randomizer. If you haven't checked it out yet, what are you doing? Go ahead, join us over not only on the Discord, but at the free enterprise website. Roll yourself up the seat. Just give it a shot casually. You don't even necessarily have to race it. It's still a fun game.
beernerd's taking some fun strats here. Knocked out the attacker node of the CPU and has zerked up Sid. And immediately, seeing the danger, inherited that.
Yep, zerked up Sid. So here comes the Globe 199s. And yeah, they will be one-shotting everyone. Gonna try to get through this fight. I imagine at least one other character. Yep, there, down goes Sid.
Yep, and unfortunately the CPU is going to have a chance to bring back the orbs before beernerd gets the kill, so that is the sort of danger of that high-speed approach. But if you don't have much in the way of full party healing, it can make a little bit of sense to knock out the attacker.
Especially here, since it's a relatively low HP spot. Even with moderate gear at this particular location, you can kind of power your way through it. It may take you a little bit longer, but it's doable at this particular location. The problem is we have Edward as a third of our party.
Yeah, but eventually the archery does prevail, mainly from Sid. And that will get beernerd through once this little ball is taken care of. Meanwhile, moonblazewolf is through the full defense and did pick up both the Twin Harp and the Adamant Rock. So our two runners are lined back up on objectives and key items thus far.
You have to be a little bit concerned right now. We don't have unlimited Artemis arrows at this point for Sid. We do, moonblazewolf picked up a rune axe, which is kind of his best melee weapon that's available outside of the arty combination. So moonblazewolf, while lagging a little bit behind in terms of the straight line contest, the more fights that beernerd takes, the sooner we might have to make decisions on what else we are going to do. And it looks like moonblazewolf is actually going to fade ordeals up to this point in time and going to be checking Baron right now.
Yeah, might be just interested in the shops and the intel, finding Cure 3s, very nice. But we'll be very happy when he does get over to Mount Ordeals. We see beernerd taking on the Magus sisters. They are naturally mages. Mages are very weak to the rune axe, so it's handy to have.
Oh boy, one of the worst spots for Ogopogo, I think, is this particular fight in Baron Inn. It's a Sparkle, so we get more Sparkle intel, but there's nothing worse than a fight that is supposed to take less than 10 seconds, and it opens up with, I will take half of your health, please.
And then it's immediately followed by the other aquatic annoyance, Kanazo, in a spot that actually does hit kind of hard.
Case in point, Tella, who has a lit one queued up, gets punched in the mouth and immediately falls down. beernerd finds a sand ruby that's guarded by a French vanilla Mylon.
Yep, Mylon and friends, none of which will have very much HP. And that sand ruby will provide us with some character. We don't know who.
All right, moonblazewolf does end up getting through. Tella being dead is of no consequence because no experience necessarily there. Pigtail.
Wow.
We already have the hook. That is objective number 3. What? God, Neobari, what'd you do?
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, if Plague is at Cave Magnus, we just need a way to Zeromus. You could make a jettier seed, but you'd have to work at it.
I was gonna say, this is about as jetty as we can get. And Moonblazewolf was like, hey, I'm just gonna double check this Miss Cave, because if Plague is here, we all in trouble, y'all.
No, it's just a lesser snake.
All right, so it's not completely 100% jetty, but in the meantime, Moonblazewolf is, prioritizing. Hey, we can turn into objectives. Let's at least turn in the one that leads to another key item check. Going to be fighting a little bit of inventory boss right here, cleaning out. Here's the problem. This party is what one might call bad for...
Yeah, there's that. I know you're gonna say bad for Cave Magnus or bad for something else, but really you were the sentence was done.
No, and I wasn't going to say anything. I was just bad. Like this is a setup to where we are so jetty. We are now. It would be a legitimate play, I think, to start checking item shops to be able to purchase the items to do Eddie strats for Zeromus, because it might come to that in this race, and you don't say that too often. The way this particular flag set is set up, 4 out of 5 objectives. Usually, we've seen runners very consistently have to clear 17 to 17, get every key item, do every check that you possibly can. And we're at 24 minutes and can reasonably clear 3 objectives immediately. With, by the way, only a single boss hunt, and all we need is a legend sword as well for the other one, just because.
Yeah, this has been a tournament where the notion of a jet seed has generally been about the hour 20 mark in terms of the results and returns thus far. So to be in this position, that's like that's classic prop. That is a very fast airplane, is what we're saying.
I mean, honestly, if we just want to re-roll another seed, I'd be fine with that. I don't know if you're doing anything after this, but I'm clear if we want to do another one,
I mean, at this rate, I could probably make room in the schedule.
Oh, Scala kidding. Okay, I apologize, Scala. I hope you understand. We're joking. We would never do that to the tournament organizers and all the work that you've done. Oh, and of course our restreamer does point out, yes, everyone is doing something after this seed, because this race is part of a double header here on Free Enterprise. Just want to double check and see what our other race is tonight.
Well, while you do that, we'll all be good and quiet and let our third Edward in this seed play us some tunes. Here's your hold music.
And of course, Golbez brings an end to our beautiful music.
I think there's people in chat commenting about doing so much relic grinding that this Crystal Tower music is kind of embedded in their brain permanently. Guess what? We get to hear it again here too.
I appreciate that, honestly. I really do, about all the relic grinding y'all have been doing, because I'm in the same boat and I hate it.
It is good music though, but you can only hear it so many times, and hopefully moonblazewolf only has to hear it a second time here before taking down Golbez.
Meanwhile, we have traded away the Pinktail for another Artemis bow. So again, objective number 3 complete. Did turn in the Sand Ruby for a Cecil that comes pre-equipped with, by the way, a Drain Sword, because why not?
Look, with Sineki, you're guaranteed some kind of weapon that is not high tier. I think a debate could maybe be had about the Drain Sword.
As weird as this sounds right now, Cecil might be the difference maker, because this is a very weak party all told, and we're very close to getting to end game. You get to a decent enough level, and if you can get like Drain Venger's Cecil going, and he can solo Zero Mess, so that might be a viable strat we see here later as well. This is this entire seed is a little bit ridiculous, Neobari, and thank you so much for this. I love it so much.
Well, we have beernerd about to experience the same thing. But coming in with that Cecil might be just a little bit of advantage that you need.
Yep. So beernerd on his way over here to Golbez with a full party, as opposed to a party of 3 at this point of duplicate Edwards, and oh god, I can't even. I can't.
Well, I mean, the we can't was the first half of this fight, but no, I see where you're at.
My emotional state was not ready for this seed to open things up. I appreciate you, Neobari, because now I'm. This is the beating my soul needs to take before my race tomorrow night.
You ever get emotionally hit by 3 elemental spells in a row?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
But Golbez with good aim takes the virus at the only character that moonblazewolf did not get a Star Veil upon. Even with those, you still have to actually attack. The magic power here is pretty weak. And the magic defense is pretty strong.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a slog. It's we're weak enough, and that's the weird conundrum, is that we don't necessarily have the levels to make anything free at this point in time. The magic defense of this particular location is incredibly strong. So while we don't have the HP to survive a whole lot of attacks, we do have. I don't know. Oh,
but moonblazewolf manages to pull through. We'll see if beernerd manages to get this on the first go, if he also is going to have to reset and reconfigure.
So double the music, and for, by the way, just a glass helm, but more importantly, another objective. So we have 3 objectives and either a single legend sword or a single boss hunt away from at least having our objectives done. We still don't have a way up onto the moon. There's different strategies in pre-Enterprise depending on what part of the race you're in and what you have left to do. We have most of the world left to hunt at this point in time, Hopfin. What do you prioritize? Do you try to do a bunch of boss checks right now, just trying to find plague, or do you still do your key item checks to search for that legend sword?
Honestly, at this point, if I'm moonblazewolf in particular, go and take care of Mount Ordeals because that's outstanding. Go cover that. But then getting that Cecil, I'm going down to Dwarf Castle because that's another character check. That's 2 boss checks. We know one of them is a sparkle on top of that. So there's enough information. I want to start getting my final party together. This does not look like my final party. So I'm looking for the characters, and if I can pair that with key items, all the better. But that's not going to go very far. There's not a lot of character checks accessible. Pretty much everything else is behind some other key item. So that's one stop, and you really have to hope that it leads you somewhere.
I think I like the idea of Dwarf Castle because you're right. This is not an end game sort of party unless you do some kind of extreme different strats at this point. We also don't necessarily, even though we're only one objective away from go mode per se, we don't have our way up to the moon. So we still have to keep doing key item checks to find the darkness crystal or the pass or some way up to the moon. And considering you have to at least defeat 2 bosses on your way, I mean, yeah, it seems like the most optimized play that we have at this point moving forward.
But that is beernerd through with the Golbez fight in one shot. Gets the glass helm and the objective number 1 marked off. We'll see where he decides to head from here. Because he has done all of that Mount Ordeal stuff, does have that world open.
So here's the question. Let's talk about the mental state of the runners right at the moment. beernerd and moonblazewolf are both sitting here thinking, in a moonblazewolf's case, hey, I can get the 3rd key item check. So for all intents and purposes, we have 3 out of 5 objectives already complete at 35 minutes into this particular seed. What's the mind state of both of these runners? Do they feel like they're ahead? Do they feel like they're behind? Is the pressure mounting? Is this the point where the adrenaline starts? Your palms are sweaty, your knees weak, your arms are getting heavy.
I mean, yes, this is abject panic for pretty much any runner. In part because that last thing you need could be anywhere. The whole draw of the Legend Sword, Adamant, and the Pinktail, objectives, those are terminal items. They're not going to block anything else. So there's no waiting as to them being early or late. And bosses can be anywhere as long as it's not one of the unsafe gates. So you're like, I could find it right now. It could be behind 7 other things. I have no way of knowing. I have no way of knowing if I'm on the right path, if there is a path. There's so much confusion and uncertainty that you're panicking.
Yeah, and it's the kind of panic that you don't know if it's a good excitement or bad excitement, I think. Another sparkle, and it's just pale dim at this point in time.
So we do not luck out finding plague here in the Dwarf Castle. beernerd did not heal up before coming down here, so that's a factor.
And it doesn't look like beernerd equipped that glass helm on Cecil. One of the really nice things about glass helm on Cecil, when he automatically covers kind of your entire party from the back row, as long as it's just physical damage. Glass helm Cecil on the back row is one of those legitimate niche strats that can get you through about a large percentage of bosses, probably too many bosses, honestly.
Yeah, there are so many spots where it's almost equivalent to having adamant armor. It's so durable. And there is a proper white mage. We find Rosa as our Dwarf Castle character.
I mean, we got rid of one Eddie. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, let's find with that strong punch from Odin. That's unfortunate.
All things said, this isn't a bad spot for Odin. It has relatively low HP, so you can burn through it pretty quickly before, and not have to do any of those weird, like, Thunderstruck Odin strats at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that spot is slow enough. Again, not the slowest, but it's not hyperspeed. It's not the waterfall. It's not anything where you're worried about getting one too many Zantatsukins.
Meanwhile, Moonblazewolf ends up turning in his pink tail at this point in time. So both runners now officially with 3 objectives complete at sub 40 minutes, which is ridiculous. Meanwhile, beernerd is going to show us what Luca's jewelry line is this time around, and it is a Baron key.
So yeah, that's another character check, another 3 boss locations, although we saw the first one was not a sparkle. And 2 key items in case the chain continues like that.
And at this point, your options are pretty much, you have Baron check at this point. You can start maybe trying to plan for the Feymarch bosses, which you don't necessarily want to do at these levels with these characters, or a keyless tower. And frankly speaking, from a pure statistical objective perspective, everything is pointing to Baron at this point.
Yeah, that is a very strong reason to do it, but when you're in a 1v1 race situation, that can also be a nudge not to do it. If you feel like you want to take gambles against your opponent, or you may need to, you may look at that and be like, yes, the correct play is Baron. I'm gonna go to tower. And if I'm right, I win. If I'm wrong, I lose. Like, so be it.
Chaos Lord asks in chat, do we know the Feymarch bosses? We do. Yeah, Wyvern and Dolls. Neither free per se, although Dolls is not bad at that particular location. They're fast, but not bad.
Yeah, and we have hourglasses. We can stop the back row of Dolls and survive well enough to knock out the front row and build ourselves back up as we clean it out so that everyone gets the XP. Wyvern is rough. That's a fast enough spot that we're not likely to get enough Star Veils. And even if you do, Quad 9s will not kill it. You're going to have to actually fight.
All right, so Moonblazewolf is now going down and doing the dwarf check. Will be working his way through these particular checks. Again, not terribly difficult. We saw beernerd get through them. Moonblazewolf Cecil, he just picked up, so it will be a little bit lower level Cecil, but we'll get tons of levels in this if he survives. Be really interesting to see what Moonblazewolf ends up deciding to do here. It does feel like at this point that both runners are on kind of a very similar linear path at this point.
Yeah, I think in part because, as you were saying, there's a certain just sheer math about all of the decisions they're making here. beernerd is having a little bit easier time of it all just by doing that ordeals check earlier, getting Cecil a little bit earlier. But I fully expect we'll have identical parties coming out of Moonblazewolf's Dwarf Castle check.
That would, if I had money to bet on a race, I would absolutely do it. But, I called up Vegas and they had no idea what I was talking about when I said I was going to bet on a free enterprise race. So, but I would venture to guess as well.
Of course, beernerd showed us one extra advantage of having Cecil in the party, as if there weren't enough. Clears out the karate fight with a single fight command, as long as you do it at the right time. After
the second kick, you punch Young in the face like he punches you, and fight's over immediately.
I mean, you can punch, you can arrow, apparently, anything as long as Cecil is using the fight command. Doesn't matter what weapon he was using.
Punch, bash, shoot, slash. There's a lot of them. Meanwhile, we have the Elements fights sitting on the throne. So, you know, Kenyatta invited all of his buddies over for a party.
Yeah, normally I try to pull out a good term for leadership by whatever the boss here is, but I don't think there is a term for leadership by a council of 4 personifications of natural elements. I don't know enough Latin to throw one of those together.
I mean,
well, it's dead. It's dead now, so let's not worry about it.
Yeah, it's dead. Whatever it is, it's a dead ocracy.
And it's a ninja as one of your rewards, so we might be swapping Ed for Ed here. But beernerd's having a moment here. That Edward has been kind of set up for it to be his anchor. So yeah, Tella is the one who gets the boot.
I mean, at this point, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Both Eddie and Tella are not good, you know, from this point on. And then I think Tella, to me personally, Tella probably has more utility because he can blink in Berserk, your Cecil and now your Edge, and Eddie can't. But Eddie can also do some very niche strats for a lot of bosses that we haven't encountered yet. And if you're at this point in the race thinking I may have to do some Eddie strats for Zero Miss, I mean, keeping that Eddie might be beneficial in that regard.
Yeah, I can't help but feel though, like once we saw a Cecil, Eddie strats kind of go out the door. You do need to get Cecil a fair amount of levels, but that's easier than, you know, setting up those Eddie strats and going through the strain of making it work in the fight itself. Granted, that is dependent on getting a good weapon for Cecil, and if we find the Legend Sword, we will have said weapon. But if we find Plague and clear out our objectives that way, it's harder to tell what our gear is going to look like.
In the meantime, beernerd is going over here to check at least the boss. Oh, hello, Defense Sword.
Hey, there's good gear.
I mean, that's just fantastic considering that otherwise Cecil is not well equipped at all. So yeah, I will absolutely take a Defense Sword Cecil at this point in time and heavily kit him out as best we can. And it's to the point where he realizes, yeah, let's give everything to Cecil now. The black belt, the strength ring, everything that Sid was carrying, that we recognize now that Sid is not the person we want to be carrying it. We're at that transition between the early mid game and getting into the full mid and into the late game. And the rough part is, if this isn't a boss, if this is a boss you want to reset out of, do you come back in here for the loot?
Oh, we'll have to see, but beernerd is at least going to start this Mom Bomb fight, and oh, that's a hard hit.
That's a punchy Mom Bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, and I dare say that is not a lot of HP on his party overall, or on moonblazewolf's either.
Yeah, we've not really done a whole lot of grinding. We did see one siren that was available there that beernerd picked up that was in Baron Castle, We've not seen any other sirens anywhere, though, in this race. And we've opened most of the shop checks, except for the one on the moon, up till this point in time. So getting a little desperate in terms of getting some solid levels. Our party is looking a little bit more fleshed out in terms of having Cecil and Edge and Rosa. Those three can really do some work on Zeramus on their own, despite the rest of the party. But we're at a tight spot with levels all said.
Yeah, but that is moonblazewolf through the elements fight, showing us a little bit of lag, and then ditching Eddie. So we are looking at nearly mirrored parties, but not entirely mirrored. And moonblazewolf is probably going to be looking at a better edge in his group, as we did find some Hanzo steel earlier on.
It's the eternal question of this particular flag set. To loot or not to loot? That is the question.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like, so far, the answer has been a reasonable amount of loot.
Defense Sword Cecil is putting in work against this Mom Bomb. I don't think we're going to get through the HP required before we explode here, which is going to decimate the party. I'm really worried for beernerd here because he's invested a lot of time into this fight, and I'm worried that this is going to be a wipe.
Not a wipe, but pretty close. And that Cecil did have some wine, so I think this is just a matter of time now. Yep, that is the reset.
Yeah, it didn't go through, but you gain the intelligence. Does not go back for that defense sword. So all that equipping that, maybe fake, maybe going back at least for the equipment. But yeah, moonblazewolf now sets up all the equipment for Edge and is also going in. moonblazewolf is going to be significantly better equipped than beernerd is if he opens up any treasure chests. We know that there's a defense sword on the way down, and Cecil still doesn't have great equipment.
No,
Blaze
he's skipping right past.
I don't blame him because he's already done a lot of looting, so you just kind of want to go, but that hurts. That hurts my soul.
That said, I'm genuinely laughing at the arrangement of his party at the moment. Sen did the stuck fries. I don't. It's chef's kiss.
Does Ice Spring do extra damage to Bomb Bomb? I do not believe so. I honestly, I think at this point, Bomb Bomb doesn't have any elemental weaknesses. It looks like it would be a fire elemental because explosions and things like that. But I don't think so. I do. I'm not 100% correct on that, but I don't believe so. Darkness. Chad is saying that Mom Bomb actually has a weakness to darkness, which, okay, I'll buy that.
Makes total sense. Mom Bomb is an early game boss. You have Dark Knight Cecil, and a lot of those early bosses are, weak to darkness, strong against holy, to just make Cecil a little bit better to have.
In the meantime, beernerd is doing the other quote-unquote easy check at this point in time, and is going up and doing the keyless tower, which feels like the only other real direction we've been given. All the key items we've been given, none of them have led to a whole lot of expansion of where else we can go into the world. No pans, no other keys, no earth crystals, no darkness crystals up to this point in time. Nothing we've really gotten, except for a few checks, have really added up into additional checks elsewhere.
And that is moonblazewolf through the Mom Bomb, past the explosion. So, very strong fight, rewarded with an apple. But also a good splash of XP. He doesn't even want the XP.
He resets. Oh my gosh.
That's like a measurable fraction of the XP that you've gathered thus far. I feel like I would have taken that.
Yeah, I probably would have kept that as well. Your party is only in the mid 20s. I mean, you're not at the point where you're just raffle stomping everything at this point. And then he's opening these alert chests. This is interesting. I actually really like this play by moonblazewolf because there's one thing that we haven't seen yet in this seed, and that's sirens, and that's a consistent way to grind. With Edge can steal sirens from these alerts in the trap chests that we haven't seen beernerd open up yet. Even though he's in the same spot, this is significant because this is opening up a grind possibility for moonblazewolf to get him to the levels that he needs to be able to take anything on at this point. Plus, defeating trap chests allows you access to tier 7 loot, which, hey, if you just stumble into a crystal sword, that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
I mean, for this party, yes. We actually have a Cecil, which means we won't find a crystal sword. That's just the way of the universe, but it would be wonderful.
What do you think we end up finding? Like White Lance?
Stardust Rod?
Okay.
Stardust Rod isn't tier 7, is it?
No, it's not. Because we've seen it in many chests.
Yeah. But I also don't think there isn't a guarantee when you get an item in a trap chest that it will be tier 7. It's just the possibility. So, I don't know. It could be a cure 3. That's always a wonderful, wonderful tragedy.
Meanwhile, beernerd is taking on this antlion fight, zerking his defense sword Cecil, which comes with all the counters at this point in time.
Yep, and those counters are bringing all the chip damage. Cecil is the only one left standing in that party now. Okay, Bahamut Orb is a tier 7 item. There's no Rydia, but it is a tier 7 item.
I think more importantly was those sirens, because he immediately noped out and says, okay, let's have some fun here. Beernerd does get through antlion, finds the earth crystal with only Cecil standing. Ooh, this race just got spicy.
Yeah, I mean, beernerd is very much focused on the objectives. The levels will come as they come. The gear, like getting the earth crystal means we can check out the treasury, so the gear will come as it comes. And hoping that the time it takes to get your objectives done is enough to get your party in good shape. moonblazewolf is like, nah, I'm grinding. That plague could be right around the corner. I'm grinding.
I like it. I don't like it, but I like it. It's this seed is an interesting contradiction unto itself. You run a seed like this very different than you run most other free enterprise seeds, and you just have to kind of adapt on the fly.
Now, of course, there is also that entire wild card that we haven't talked about except briefly, but is always there. Is that Demist? Defeating the Demist will result in a key item showing up on Rydia's mom over in Mist Village, and that boss could be anywhere. The really cheeky thing is if it's the first boss in Tower of Zot, which the Earth Crystal is not required to access.
Hupfen, are you attempting to do a commentator's curse on a seed?
No, this is just regular cursing. Although if Demist is there, then yes, there will be plenty of regular cursing from our runners mainly.
I mean, from everyone at this point in time. I could feel it in my bones. To start out so quick and to have something like that be progression. Oh my goodness.
But that is the sort of thing that is always a possibility, always out there lingering, and I don't blame anyone for not picking up on it.
Oh, meanwhile, it looks like beernerd is coming over, and we're going to be playing our favorite game.
Rate that treasury!
Oh, rate that treasury. Very good. Ninja, Stardust, Karate, ribbons. We have some ribbons.
Lots of ribbons.
Yeah.
It's the ribbon. We found the ribbon room. We found the ribbon room, everybody.
Oh, don't get rid of the drain sword. The drain sword is the best. Fighting the inventory boss as we're going through here. Arrows, third ribbon.
Moonveil, Crystal Shield, Glass Helm. There's some strong stuff in here. This is a solid this is a solid ribbon room.
Yeah, 7 to 10, maybe 8 to 10, like 7.5 to 10. I think feels like a solid rating, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's a passing grade.
The ninja shirt helps doubly when you already have the edge, just because he's the only one who can equip it. If you didn't have the edge, I could see this being a lower 7, but because you have the edge, I'll take it. And ribbons, just everyone equip a ribbon. Guess what? You're protected from death. Like, we don't fear the wall, the evil wall at this point in time. We're good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we already fought the evil wall, so we know that's not an issue. But yes, any sort of ribbons, that's their thing. They protect from so many status ailments that they're really good playing a game vanilla when there's a lot of enemies that just do that. They still hold value against the bosses.
Meanwhile, we have moonblazewolf over here taking on Calbrenna in one of the Fate March checks over here. Got the stop off, so this fight is free from this point forward.
Yep, your DPS would have to be embarrassingly low to not be able to knock these 3 dolls out before that stop wears off. It's an hourglass too. That thing lasts forever.
Not to mention the HP of this particular boss spot is split over 6 enemies, which means each individual doll really 1, maybe 2 hits, and you're good. This is a fantastic play from moonblazewolf. Gets through, is again more experience at this point. Is rewarded with, oh, how would you like to dive into that cave?
I'm going to mute so that you don't hear the expletives. That's demissed at Earth. At Zod.
The witch! The witch! My goodness.
First off, I'm really more of a sorceress.
Is it because you have a hat and like witches don't have, or do you not have a hat, and that's the difference?
It is only partially hat related.
Meanwhile, moonblazewolf is got 3 star veils off, so he's got a full party for this wyvern as well. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Shout out to Dishmu. Gifted 5 tier 1 subs to the community. Thank you so much for the support, Dishmu.
No, wait, if I'm remembering correctly, I know Demist is not actually a dragon. Wyvern is actually a dragon? Is not? I can never remember that one. I know Bahamut isn't. I know there's several bosses that are like, that's a dragon, but no, technically not.
I do believe Wyvern is a dragon.
Okay.
Yeah. it always confused me because yeah, Bahamut is not a dragon, but the eggs are dragons even prior to them hatching, which thank you Super Nintendo launch. I mean, I get it,
Mhm.
but
It's good stuff to know when you're trying to take advantage of elemental and type weaknesses. But Moonblazewolf is just kind of gonna go burr a bit.
yeah, I got that arty set up for looks like Sid, so just doing work. Meanwhile, yeah, you can take a nuke to the face here and there. That's fine.
Yeah, beernerd finding a second Rosa. There are 3 duplicate characters. We've now found 2 of them, and arcane. It's it. What's the inverse of vanilla?
Most people will say chocolate, but there's got to be something better. Like I feel that's lazy at this point. I get
Yeah.
But
But anyway, here's a darkness crystal.
yeah, I mean, considering how many white lances we found, we have. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't done a grind yet, go ahead, pick up your cave here. He will do work for you. Now, if you've already done a bit of a grind like Moonblazewolf, you might be more tempted to pass up on it and say, I got my party, I'm going to go.
Yeah, I think if you're beernerd, excuse me, your party is probably set. Moonblazewolf might be okay with what he's got at this point. Everyone's going to be okay with that Eblin royalty fight at the top of Zot. That is completely free. But Moonblazewolf heading down into the sealed cave, he has his way to Zeromus. He is now exclusively hunting for those objectives. I suspect, at least. And if this is the party that he's got, well, this is the party that he's got.
So I'm doing some Googling here and asking what is the opposite of vanilla. That was a mistake. I recommend no one do that.
Oh,
Please don't.
dear.
We're just gonna go with this is a role reversal, unusual seed, and ignore everything that's going on while I desperately try to clear my internet search history so the FBI doesn't come running my direction.
Oh, we have fun here at Free Enterprise.
Oh, hello, that's the pan on Beer Nerd's side, and the pass on Moonblaze.
Moonblazewolf really has a way to Zeromus now.
Boy, and by the way, we're also going to check D-Mist at this point in time, which, by the way, could be something interesting as well.
If this is Legend's Sword, then we had so many objectives open from the get-go. Okay.
No. Hupfin, listen to me. Listen, look me in the eye, Hupfin.
We're not doing a video call.
So the moon, completely haunted, as far as we know. I mean, Plague might be up there, but we don't care at this point in time. Here's the problem. Beer Nerd has no way to the moon.
That is a bit of that is a slight requirement. Yes, a way to actually complete the game. We do need those.
And it also tells us that wait, so hang on. What else is there? Huh? I'm lost in terms of pan. We haven't done the pan turn-ins yet in terms of our access. So I imagine beernerd will be doing that soon.
Oh, absolutely. That you do the pan checks before you go down to that Fey Marsh.
I was like, what haven't we checked? I'm double looking everything. Oh, right, the free stuff.
So this is actually, I don't know, this might be better for beernerd than for moonblazewolf, possibly. Beernerd got that legend sword by doing the Tower of Zot. You got that earth crystal that nudged you in the direction by doing Keyless Tower. So 1 hour, 8 minutes, 45 seconds. That's not go mode because we don't have a way up there, but that's 4 objectives complete.
True. Now, keep in mind, moonblazewolf has to do Keyless Tower now. So he is now on the path that beernerd just completed after, and it took him about 15 to 20 minutes or so. Beernerd has to turn in the pan, and I got to imagine the Darkness Crystal is going to be in one of these checks at this point in time. Like, statistically speaking.
Well, no, we have the Darkness Crystal.
Wait, what? Where was it?
Wyvern.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yep.
I completely missed that. Oh.
Yeah, no, moonblazewolf had no specific reason to go do this Keyless Tower. This is a brilliant play. He could have very easily gone up to the moon and figured there's so many checks up there. One of those could be, could be the plague fight, could be the legend sword, could be any of the key items that I don't have. At this point, for all you know, everything could be on the moon, but nothing is on the moon, turns out.
Here's the tower key. Rude. So I just want to point out, required moon access behind the Wyvern at Leviathan is a particular kind of rude, and I'm here for it tonight, but not during my race tomorrow night. So I just want that noted. Okay.
You want to witness it, not experience it.
Exactly. It's the kind of thing you want to witness because that kind of junk is out of the rotation for when you race.
I mean, you certainly hope so, but the probability always exists.
All right, so here we have Sheila 2 at this point, and just a Zeus Gauntlet.
Yep, so beernerd is thinking either I have to go double dip the tower, which you're probably going to do first. That is a free fight in the Super Cannon Chamber. But it's not going to lead anywhere. You're forced to go down to the Fey March.
So moonblazewolf does have more checks. I mean, he could eventually decide to dip and go to the moon. But here's the nice thing for moonblazewolf. We know that if he continues on the same path that beernerd did by staying on the Earth, he will, in the next 10 to 15 minutes, run into the Legend Sword, which is good. We don't know how long it's going to take beernerd, while he has all the objectives in the crystal, to run into eventually Wyvern, who has the Darkness Crystal, or the Luca Key, which had the pass, and the Luca Key was located
on the dolls.
On the dolls. So Fey March bosses are your way to the moon, and beernerd just might check everything else before that.
Yeah, fortunately though, there's not a lot left. We have this Dr. Luge fight that is going so quickly, the doc can't even talk. We are not here for any sort of lectures on anything, really. And then there's a bomb that beernerd started to fight and dipped away from. And then it's the land of summon monsters, and that's it. So it's not a matter of getting to the fight that he needs to. It's, you're pretty much eliminating everything else. But those could be rude fights.
I mean, this is still one of those anyone's race moments at this point in time. And they're both making, what I would consider the efficient checks at this point in time. So we see moonblazewolf
An
thinking,
indecision. Yeah,
this is Blaze going, wait, what?
yeah, yeah, Firebird Lover in chat pointing out, we are saying the moon is haunted. In terms of key items and all that, it is. But Plague could still be anywhere, and if you go up that direction and you run into Plague immediately, that's not that bad.
No, and the nice thing is, because you know that you're only really looking for Plague, you can just face check bosses. Start a fight, not there, reset. Start a fight, not there, reset. So you can move much quicker through the moon at that point in time. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that MBW hasn't gone up to the moon at this point in time. Meanwhile, beernerd doing the dive that we know he's got to do. He's got the crystal already, just needs his access. Either one, whichever fight he chooses, will give him the requisite access. Now, if he gets the pass, he's stuck on the Earth, and he does not really have any good grind option except for maybe door. No, he doesn't even have doors right now. Oh my.
No, you would have to do the door grind before you get that pass. So
like,
his option is Steel Sirens. Steel Sirens. It worked for moonblazewolf. That's about what you got. He would be sitting at over 10 key items, which moonblazewolf was not upon doing his, so you do get that extra boost.
These are the kinds of races that make Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise one of the best randomizers and best speedrun randomizers that are out there. Because we've seen these runners, they started off the first part of the race kind of in lockstep, but they've gone in completely different directions at this point. But it's not a straight line race. It's not, muscle memory. You have to have decision making as you're going through the entire race. And while these two runners have made very different decisions throughout the entirety of this race up to this point in time, they're still, staring down what could be finish here at the end.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this with several runners throughout this tournament that you make your decisions, and so often they're not the bad one, even if they don't work out. I know some runners will feel like every decision they make is terrible. I understand that, but no, our runners are making smart choices here with what set of options they have, how they feel against their opponents. If they're going to play more risky, do more gambling, going to be more conservative, safe about your grinds and your directions. It's very rare that you make what is strictly a bad decision. It's more, what does the seed reward?
Absolutely. And that's, I've said it many times. That's why I love about randomized speedruns as opposed to vanilla speedruns. Because of the mystery element. The right play, the statistically right play isn't necessarily the correct play. Always. And that's what makes the racing exciting. It gives it a different flavor than any regular vanilla speedrun. beernerd, meanwhile, on the Calbrenna fight, going to town. Let's see. Seems set up reasonably well at this point.
Yeah, no worries getting through the dolls there. And
because this is this is Luca Key, which leads to pass.
Yep.
Which is okay. So he might decide, okay, we'll do this because at least it's a grind now. Knowing we know that the Darkness Crystal is right next door, which would probably be the better play.
Yeah, I mean there is just considering transit time. The 5-ish minutes getting through the lunar subterrane. Yes, Seal Cave is also fairly long, so it's not like this is faster. But you save so much time with the pass that it's almost worth it.
Yeah, worth noting, I think this is also going to be beernerd's best grind opportunity, to be 100% honest, moving forward. Just knowing where everything else is, and knowing that sirens, as far as we know, aren't going to be available. They might be up on the moon. If so, it's well past the time for them to be effective reasonably, unless he goes there right now, but Darkness Crystal, because reasons. Not taking any of these fights, I might see him take the fights on his way out. Like, he doesn't necessarily have a character that can cast warp in order to get him out of everything as quickly as possible, because he did ditch his Tela. However, he may not want to warp. He may want to take enough of these door fights in order to grind on his way out once he sees the pass.
Yeah, I totally understand not, stopping as you're going through to do the door grind on the ones that you have to go through to actually make your traversal. But once you have that pass, you realize, oh, I'm good to go. I need some levels. So let me hit all those other doors that lead to single chests or nothing, and get what scraps I can that way.
Meanwhile, moonblazewolf did just stumble upon the legend sword, as we said, so he will have his final objective 2 complete. Looks like he's doing a little bit of inventory cleaning out, seeing what he can purchase from this particular location at this time. Oh, Zeus gauntlets for his melee fighters, yup. Plus an Excalibur for his Cecil, that so far has only been equipped with an Ice Brand, yup. Plus he has the Darkness Crystal. Moonblazewolf, he might stop at a shop, see if he can do a bit of a grind just to get there, but otherwise Moonblazewolf is set up very nicely.
And that is Moonblazewolf getting his crystal at 1 hour, 20 minutes and change. We did see him set up that Sid with an Artemis bow and a singular Artemis arrow. That's, not a lot of artillery, but if you have an archer that is berserked, they actually won't run out of arrows. So you only really need the one if you got it, and if you zerk up that Sid.
Oh, Moonblazewolf actually coming back here. He doesn't trust his levels. He also has the pass. At this point, he's looking like he's going to come in here, steal some more sirens to grind up to the right levels. At this point, it looks like he has the 10 key items necessary. He's just going to open up enough chests to steal the sirens needed to grind, instead of going to the moon and hoping that they're there. Different people have different strategies. We've already checked all the other item shops where sirens could be. They're not guaranteed in the seed, but they are statistically likely, I believe. So he's not taking a chance at this point, saying, I know where I can get them. Let's just do it and move.
And indeed, that is beernerd starting a door grind. With the right pace and the right source of wall, you can reflect these disrupts back onto the trapdoors for one-hit kills. Otherwise, you can do a reasonable amount of damage. Swinging about 2,400 from Cecil. It's not terrible.
It's not bad. I don't mind door grinds. I tend to prefer having an Avenger before I do them, because it helps keep the queue clogged a little bit and move through it so it can't transform into the Manticore or things like that. But it's very doable. This is a great source of experience. It's not an overly difficult fight, but there's only so many opportunities you have to do it. Meanwhile, while both of these runners are doing their grinds right now, I do want to give a shout out to the team behind the scenes. We have Imperial Dragon on the tracking, and we also have Neobari on the restream, rolling this wonderful seed and doing all the work behind the scenes. Thank you both. Without everyone behind the scenes, and even the admins in the free enterprise leagues, we wouldn't be able to have the kind of fun that we have here on stream. So thank you, everyone, and for all your work behind the scenes and putting this tournament on and for keeping the community running.
Yeah, we are seeing kind of the strong advantage to finding sirens or, finding a way to steal them compared to the door grind. Each of these fights giving about the same amount of XP. Door's giving just a little bit more, but moonblazewolf is just getting from fight to fight so much faster. They're one-shot kills every time, and you don't have to run anywhere to get your next one.
No, and at this point, it looks like we have the HP. Rosa is now over 2,000 hit points, which is kind of the standard denominator you want to look at in terms of how you're going to set up. We have a pretty melee-centric party in terms of having Kane, Cecil, and Edge, as well as Sid, who's around as well. I mean, this is a very melee-heavy party.
Sid exists, yes.
I mean, Sid tries. He tries his best. He really does. Meanwhile, we have some Z flags in chat. Hupfen, would you like to help explain to possibly anyone out there who's new what exactly these Z flags are? The chat just seems to be spamming nonstop.
Yeah, I will do so without memeing, in fact. So there are roughly 525 different sprites that the randomizer can choose to load up and slap in place of Zeromus's true form, because we're sick of seeing Zeromus's true form. Nobody wants to look at that. We want to have a statistically significant chance of seeing Sephiroth. So, whose butt are we going to kick?
I question your definition of statistically significant.
I mean, everything that's in this pool is statistically significant.
Yeah, 526 butts, 1% Sephiroth. I mean,
that's a whole percent.
I mean, that is better statistical percentages than any other individual going, but I'll take the field. Thank you.
That one, though, is not Sephiroth, and I have no idea what it actually is.
Mortimus? Is it Mordegon from Dragon Quest?
I have not touched the series whatsoever, so any one of these would be unfamiliar to me. But the fight is going to be the same as you've seen, or certainly that these runners have seen before, setting up a little bit of a slow, a little bit of a nerf on the initial Big Bang. And with this party, it's just strong Zerker strats and keeping everybody alive.
Absolutely. We know this Tella is not long for this world. He's surviving long enough to cast a single Cure 4, maybe a Berserk. That's it. Meanwhile, we have the rest of the party just set up and go Burr at this point in time. Just let them loose, let them do their thing, and we're good.
Beernerd having a little bit of a struggle with this store grind, getting caught out by one of the dragons that they can bring about, and moving about without turning encounters off again.
Oh, no.
Easy mistake to make. Just a little more time spent.
Oops, surprise. Bats.
But yeah, when you have a close call like that, I'm not surprised Beernerd is now just getting out of there. Go and save. You don't want to rehash any of this.
Meanwhile, moonblazewolf seems to be doing a pretty consistent 5 to 7,000 damage per round. Just really chunking out this damage at this point. It will not take long. A bad full bang bang will take Rosa out, but with the damage output we have right now, it may not matter.
Yep, of course, direct attacks means we are going to have to go through Zeromus's entire health pool, but we're getting through that pretty quickly. It's not a huge deal.
Chat is pointing out or talking about how you move on in the Lali-Ho League, and 3 losses would guarantee that you would not be able to move on. You have 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, 0 points for a loss. 6 rounds, you have to have a minimum of 10 points in order to move on. So after 3 losses, statistically, you would be eliminated, and that's what beernerd is facing right now. As Mortimus goes down and moonblazewolf completes everything with an official time, 128.48 GG's, and I do believe moonblazewolf has joined us in the booth. GG's.
Hey, thank you.
So I want to know, how early were you panicking?
So I was digging for my Eddie Strat notes during the Twin Harp song the first time, because I was pretty sure I was going to end up having to do Edward Strats this seed.
I mean, it threw 2 Edwards and a lot of early objectives at you, so we were expecting the same up here in the booth.
Yeah, it's definitely not a common thing. I have pretty good notes on it, and I wouldn't say I would have been comfortable with it if it had come to that, but I'm really glad I didn't have to do it, because that would not have been very fun, even if it was the fast ideal way to get through the seed, if it had truly been like a jet seed like that.
So talk to us kind of a little bit of your thought process through here. You had kind of a statistically weak party early on. You didn't get blessed with Cecil and Edge until the back end of the race. But at the same time, you were given everything so early on. It was, I mean, we were talking go mode at sub 20 minutes at one point in time. Just what's your mental state going in it with that party, and how do you move past that?
It was so tough, and I dove the hook route early because I wanted the character, and then to come back up and just immediately get the magma key out of Antlion, and so you kind of know that you just wait. I shouldn't say wasted, but I mean, your prize was an Edward and some decent loot, but then I got underground and all the loot was better anyway in the Fey March. So I mean, it's really tricky to play a seed like that. I would say the first tension point early on, aside from just the not a very good party like you said, is I knew there was a Porum waiting up on Hobbs that could wear a heroine robe and rock an Artemis bow, but I just did not want to commit to the time it was going to take me to clear that Fabul gauntlet to get her, because if I ended up doing Eddie Strats, I wasn't going to need her for anything, and it just didn't really seem. I had a good amount of knowledge, and it just didn't feel like the right play to go get her, even though I knew it would probably increase my DPS for a bit. But I could put the Artemis bow on Edward, and he was going to do just fine too. So I don't know. It was so tricky.
And then to ultimately be forced into, that Fey March for your moon access. Either direction, it was. I mean, I guess the dolls were the friendly one.
Yeah, both of those were going to be pretty doable as long as you had a curse ring. And I actually did a mini grind before I went down there, just because I wanted the DPS to take the fights out faster. It felt like the right decision. Plus, I didn't know how much of the seed I had left in front of me at that point. Stealing the sirens was super slow, but it was just so awkward again, because you feel good coming out of I felt good coming out of the Fey March with that darkness crystal, but at the same time it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm still 1 key item away from go mode, and I've got 2 checks left on the earth. I tend to be a little bit more conservative about completing my earth checks before I go up to the moon in this format, and I felt like I didn't want to have to add in that big whale summoning scene if I didn't have to. So again, it was just so tricky because you get that darkness crystal and then like 5 minutes later you realize that you could also get your Z access just by doing the dolls, and that one wasn't nearly as difficult. So it was just such a tricky seed to navigate pretty much all the way through.
Yeah, but that choice to go and steal sirens, I think, really did help you out, both in getting that slightly early grind that made some of the fights a bit smoother, and then doing your final grind just very swiftly. So that sort of train of thought definitely helps in handling something like this.
Yeah, it definitely worked out pretty well. And so I don't know, ultimately that early siren stealing, I don't know if it was the right decision, but it certainly made that wyvern fight a lot faster. And then I guess I felt like once that was the darkness crystal, if everything else was on the moon, I was probably going to be okay, because that's going to be either the most challenging or the last thing or both that somebody's going to do. So I guess I felt okay to do those other checks, and it just paid off that the legend sword was through the earth crystal and the moon wasn't required at all. So I mean, all's well that ends well. There was a lot of, I really exposed myself by not going up to the moon right away, I think, but it turned out okay this time.
I also wanted to do a formal apology for cursing the race and predicting both of the D-Mist being at the Magus Sister spot and D-Mist providing the Legend Sword.
Pretty good. You've been hanging out with Night Dew lately. There's some strong witch energy in the booth these days. So
not that I'm aware of, at least.
That we literally yelled "Burn the witch" when all that went down. I just want to point that out. Yes, there's witchy energy.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And that seed had I guess it's more of like a warlock at the end, or wizard as well. Really great Z sprite by Scala. I guess that was a new one. I just want to say GG's also to beernerd, because for those who don't know, beernerd is an incredibly talented runner of this game. Had to play, Poydrak and myself and somebody else. I'm sorry, I can't remember all of the opponents, but basically played 3 incredibly difficult runners in the tournament. beernerd is the person who this time a year ago was knocking out Dusty Grits of the Fabul Gauntlet. I thought for sure my number was up tonight, because beernerd is absolutely a giant killer. And it's just unfortunate for him that things went the way that they did. And I hope that still had a good event and a good tournament and comes back and keeps doing this kind of stuff. So big shout outs to beernerd for just being a really good competitor and being a big gamer in these events. And thanks everybody on the Restream team as well that helped put this on. This was a really fun race, and I hope everybody enjoyed it tonight.
Well, that was a fantastic tribute there. And as you say that, beernerd is finishing up his Zero Miss fight at 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 1 second. So, you went in 2 different directions kind of after the initial overworld checks, and then finished, relatively close together, all things said, within 8 minutes, which is a short amount of time, all things said.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good race. Like I said, I really hope everybody enjoyed it. And yeah, GG's. And I'm going to clear out and let you all finish up. So everybody have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
And I believe joining us now in the comms booth is beernerd. GG's on another just incredibly fast seed.
Hey, GG's, thank you.
So I know we have folks in the chat and in the community who will be very pleased, but I want to say good work on grabbing that door grind and knowing that was the direction that you needed to go there.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know. I know I can't do low level strats very well. I haven't been practicing much lately, and that would be way too tough. So it was the one grind I found. And talking in chat with moonblazewolf, I wish I'd have stolen sirens also. That sounds way better than what I actually did.
Were you early on kind of afraid of having to do those low-level strats, given all the objectives and all the Edwards showing up?
I kept hoping that everything would be a darkness crystal and it wouldn't be a pass, and that turned out to be a pass. Because if I had a darkness crystal, I could at least figure something better out.
Oh no. Oh no. Because you know where the darkness crystal was, right?
No, I don't think I ever found it.
Right next door.
Oh, really?
Literally right
Yeah.
next door. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that was a wyvern fight. But
Yeah,
it was right there.
Yeah, I kicked out my Tella, and I didn't have any good anchoring either. I knew that one would be near impossible for me.
Yeah, there,
So.
we did find a curse ring, I don't even remember where, but somewhere, that required a bit of deeper looting to stumble into. And your approach, it felt like the whole time was focused on getting through bosses, getting through objectives, which is, you know, what you're really trying to do here at the end of the day. So I don't blame you for that at all.
Yeah, I haven't got to do as many seasons as I'd like to, but I kind of found that you don't need to loot a ton. Like, it definitely is helpful, but for the most part, you can get through pretty much everything without really going overboard with the loot. On these flags, I guess.
No, it's true, and it's been, I think, one of the most interesting points throughout this tournament up to this point in time. Because different people have different theories in terms of how much loot is too much loot, and where to stop and where to keep going, and it's made a difference in some races. So there's no sweet spot, I think, at this point, or no, like, you can't magically say, you know, no more than 30 or 40 checks and you're good.
That's true, and it's made to be a really interesting watch. I really like all the different approaches that I've seen following the tournament so far.
Excellent. Well, with that said, Beer Nerd, 0-3, kind of finishing everything up. Do you have any kind of final thoughts on the tournament or the seed? I know this kind of statistically eliminates you from advancement, but kind of, can you give us some wrapped up thoughts here?
Well, I mean, I have, I guess, I'm looking forward to the next tournament. I'm not incredibly active on the Discord community, but I see everything, I read everything, and everybody is really great. It's a fun community to be a part of, and no matter what, I'm always going to try and be there and do the tournaments, and I'd encourage everybody else to do it. I'd also like to thank both of you for doing commentary and everybody behind the scenes working really hard on this. It's always a great event. It's really well run. I'm looking forward to the next one and my future races here. I don't think I'm gonna, if I can stay in, I think I will stay in and just do the rest of the matches for fun as well.
Yeah, and as moonblazewolf mentioned, like, you got thrown up against some pretty rough competition as the Swiss rounds went through. Everyone is just paired up randomly based on your standings, and you just got thrown some tough fights. And in every one of them came up very close. So yeah, it's an 0-3, but it was a hard fought appearance. So yeah,
Right.
respect you on that front for sure.
Okay, well, thank you. And I appreciate my other competitors as well. They're also really great, as was moonblazewolf. Congratulations to him. I hope he does really well with the rest of the event, and I know he will. He's a very good competitor as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again, Beer Nerd. GG's to both you and moonblazewolf, putting on just a fantastic showcase of a wonderful jet seat tonight.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we want to thank everyone for joining us in this another Lali-Ho League match. Again, one other shout out to the team behind the scenes, Neo Bari, with the restream, and we have Imperial Dragon on the tracking. Thank you so much. Hupfin, my co-commentator, it's always a pleasure working with you. I love working with you, Hup.
Yeah, same to you, Vitasia. And yeah, I'll echo the thanks to the behind the scenes crew and to everyone who is currently watching. And I hope you do stick around. We're going to do a quick restreamer swap in here. And we have the second match on this channel coming up in about 15 minutes or so. So if you want to see another race that might be just as jetty, might be even more technical, even more tactical, who knows? just hang around, stay tuned, and we'll see what we got for you.
Yeah, it does look like the next race is going to be Iklopfer versus Girin. So that should be a pretty hype race as well. Stay tuned, and I'm sticking around. I hope everyone else sticks around. Have a great night, everyone.